There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up? Welcome into episode number 126 of the Program Guys Podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined with you as always by Matt Gann, Mark Hall, Patrick Kurtzberger, no Ryan Tyson this week. Today is Wednesday, June 12th. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Gentlemen, how we living? 4 of us, 4 out of 5. We had 5 out of 5 last week. Couldn't make it 2 weeks in a row, guys. We just couldn't do it. We tried.
It's one of the good things about having 5 fingers is you can lose one and still have a great podcast.
Right. Some would say Ryan's the thumb, but that's just some. Just
so we'll see how we operate without one. Right.
Just so the listeners know.
Do we revert?
Tell us, Pat.
Yeah, just so the listeners know, Ryan Tyson's a huge Kyrie Irving fan. He didn't want to come on the podcast today because Kyrie's playing so poorly. He didn't want to deal with us giving him crap about it.
He needed to reload for tonight's game.
Yeah.
So. It's really tough. Ryan even said like he's not even like a basketball guy.
No.
And that's maybe the toughest part of it.
But big Kyrie guy, specifically.
Big Kyrie guy.
Big
loves
Kyrie
that.
guy.
Loves him. Oh my God. And the Mavericks as a whole.
Yeah.
Look, Ryan Tyson
big flat earth
might as well
guy.
be.
The guy bleeds blue. Bleeds.
Ryan Cuban.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Or Adelson. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, Ryan, let us know down below in the comments how far you got into the show before you turned it off. Okay, boys, we got some stuff to get to today. We had some news drop about football with the football schedule. We'll get to in just a little bit, but we want to start off the show first. Mark and Matt dropped a EPC right after OU softball won the national championship just a few days ago. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead, go find it. But they gave you their thoughts on the national championship. Me and Pat haven't had a chance to give our thoughts. And Pat, we'll start with you, man. Oklahoma softball, 4th straight national title. Never been done before. Your opening thoughts.
Absolutely unbelievable. I always had faith in this team to be able to do it, but the way they did it was better than expected, right? Going to 8-3 and then 8-4. Texas never had a shot in that championship series, which was just incredible how they all stepped up in that championship series. I mean, in the games against Florida, the tight games against Florida, the adversity that they overcame, it was just awesome to see. And 4 straight is huge. Those seniors really have cemented a legacy, and they've done something that, I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened or will ever be repeated in NCAA sports ever again until they win next year.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not just that they did it in softball and it's something unprecedented in softball. I mean, when's the last time there was a 4-peat national champion in collegiate athletics? I don't know. I don't have the stats in front of me. I'm sure, there's an equestrian 4-time national title or something. Well, UCLA back in the day, basketball.
Yeah, they had like 7 or something like that. Or something
that's right.
in the 80s or 70s or something like that.
Yeah, so
nothing mattered then.
Yeah, Lou Alcindor, he changed his name. So, but I was really impressed with their fight, Pat, kind of like you mentioned. This team all year long and really for the last 4 years has been world beaters, and they had to recover after that loss. Couldn't lose again, and ran the table, ran the gauntlet, and won all those games. And really, it never really even felt threatening against Texas the entire time. It just, no part of me was ever really uncomfortable, I felt like. Just really, really cool. Really happy for Kelly Maxwell. How awesome is that? Like, what a player she was in the last few games of that tournament. The arguably the sole reason that OU made it that far and won another national title. But shout out to Patty. I mean, I have no idea how and that just goes to show how good Patty Gasso is. How do you continue to motivate these kids? Like, you've won 4 straight. You've won 3 straight. Forget about the 4th one. You've won 3 straight national titles. The senior class knows nothing but winning national titles. It is super easy for that senior class to rest on their laurels and be like, this is what we do. Like, we can just do this with our eyes closed. And they never did. They fought the entire season. They fought the entire way. It's really cool, man. I'm gonna miss this senior class a lot, though. There's gonna be large shoes to fill all over up and down this lineup that we're gonna have to replace these seniors with. But if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be Patty Gassett.
Let me throw it out to you guys because I know me and Mark covered quite a bit in the emergency pod. Some, talking about the senior class, what Kelly Maxwell did. What are your guys' thoughts on the haters out there that claim that Oklahoma or the World Series has to be moved from Oklahoma City because it's too much of a home field advantage for the Oklahoma Sooners? What are your guys' thoughts when you see all those haters out there saying that?
From a surface level perspective, I get it. It's in Oklahoma City. That's close. But it's home field advantage to this team because they're there every single year. It wouldn't matter where in the country it would be at. They would have the most games played in whatever stadium it was being held at in any city in the country. And that is an advantage no matter what. Sure, being 35 minutes away from the campus, even more of an advantage. But those seats were filled with Florida fans. Those seats were filled with Texas fans. There wasn't necessarily a huge majority of OU fans in that stadium. Like, Florida and Texas rolled out, and that was easy to see when the camera pulled out of perspective. So sure, it's close, but you don't win 4 national championships because of that reason.
Find me a city that has the softball infrastructure that Oklahoma City has, and I'll listen. But my problem is everyone's complaining about this, and they didn't complain about it the 25 years that it's been there before.
Right.
They're just now complaining. Did OU complain when we had to play LSU in the Sugar Bowl? That was essentially we played them twice in the Sugar Bowl, LSU, and it was a home field advantage for them. We don't complain about that. We know what it is. That's just what it is. That's where the game is. Play the game.
Play the game.
Like, it's not as big of a deal as some people want it to be. And again, I argue, if you want to move it, where are you going to move it? Because if you go play at a rinky-dink college stadium that is going to hold 2,000 people, no shot. Like, that's inexcusable. Do people complain about it being in Omaha, the College Baseball World Series being in Omaha every year? If Nebraska made it every year, I don't think people would complain because it's Omaha and it has the lure to it and everything like that. I'd be hard pressed to talk to some of these girls. This isn't just Oklahoma City and we picked a spot. The Softball Hall of Fame is in Oklahoma City. They play where Team USA plays. Like, this isn't just some softball complex. This is the softball complex in the country and the world. Yeah, it just so happens to be in Oklahoma. So, no, I think anyone complaining about it, they just haven't thought it through. They have no answer other than like, oh, we need to move it because OU wins all the national championships. Well, sorry. Tough.
Well, and 2 things are true, right? One, yeah, it is nice to be Oklahoma near Oklahoma City. Like, we can't take away that sleeping in your own bed is a nice thing. It just is. At the same time, your last point is what rings the most true, to me at least, is that where else are you going to do this? You could, I suppose, transform some of these very nice baseball stadiums into softball stadiums for the moment, but there is, like you said, the Softball Hall of Fame in that same location. Oklahoma City is where the action is. And even if Oklahoma were to fall off next year and not win another national championship for several years, that's where it would be. The Hall of Fame is not going to move. The greatest stadium in the country and, like you said, the world is not going to move. The only other option is to try and figure out if you can play in baseball stadiums. And hey, no baseball stadium that I've seen has really volunteered. So until we see that, I'm not sure how much of an option that is.
Yeah, and just for example, OU just built the cathedral of college softball at Love's Field. It's a great stadium, beautiful stadium, holds 4,200 people. That's one of the highest end stadiums in the country for softball. Only holds 4,200. You're not going to play a World Series, collegiate World Series at some place like that when you're getting 10,000 plus at this Hall of Fame stadium. You're just not going to do that. That's an insult to these girls and the effort that they put forth to be like, oh, well, we're just going to move it so one team doesn't have an advantage. How about you just beat them? Just beat them. That's my only thing.
Well, even OU during the regular season, they're road warriors. They were 29-5 on the road, and that was just this year, and I'm sure it was even better over the last 3 years. So it doesn't matter. This team could be playing on the freaking moon, and it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now,
none of it.
To Mark's point, it's home field advantage. It's probably 70 to 80+% OU fans. There's no doubt about it. You scan the camera, Patrick. I'll disagree with you there. There's a little visitor section, but it's mainly OU, and that's okay. Until someone beats us and takes us off the top, and they have that critical infrastructure to fit 10,000 plus people, show me where you're going to do it. I'll be happy to go play somewhere else if they had something similar to what Oklahoma City provides. But this team has proved on the road, in your own backyard, in Oklahoma City, in Norman, doesn't matter where, you weren't going to beat this team. And even if you did, you weren't going to beat them twice. That is for dang sure. Again, this senior class, can't wait to watch the 30 for 30 that will come out. It's going to be one of the best things you could ever watch. But now that the season's over, the transfer portal does come into play. And it's just as big and just as crazy when you think about it. And 3 people already on that list for OU specifically, 2 infielders, 1 pitcher. The surprise, Avery Hodge, second baseman who came in for Elena Torres, played really good defense and had some good clutch hits throughout the World Series when she had to fill in, enters the transfer portal along with Luleo and one of the pitchers, CJ Gurin, who I think only pitched maybe 10 innings all season. So I know the latter 2 were projected to go into the portal. That makes sense to find another home for more playing time. A little bit surprised by Avery Hodge, mainly I would think because I think she wants to go back home. I think she's from Houston or A&M or somewhere in that area. And Elena Torres is still going to be there next season playing second baseman. So a little bit of a surprise, but not really a surprise as well. What are your guys' thoughts for the transfer portal for OU?
Mostly, I think that, like, hey, it's like you said, Elena Torres is going to be back. And I wonder if getting the chance to play and play high leverage moments actually had more of a driving factor towards getting more playing time than if maybe nothing happens to Elena Torres, right? That said, I think that the infrastructure is such that Oklahoma softball is going to be okay. And the pedigree is such that if you need to replace a player that's actually going to play, you can do it through the portal without too much trouble. You either have that player in-house or you can go to the portal and get it. Kelly Maxwell was the best pitcher Oklahoma had on staff this season and came from Oklahoma State. So yep. I think that Oklahoma has proven itself as the top of the totem pole when it comes to softball transfer portal recruiting in addition to regular recruiting. Did I say reporting?
I think you did.
I think I did. Recruiting.
Couldn't agree more, though. That's all I've got.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Good reporters on our squad.
That's right.
Well, we talked about it, Mark. 6 out of the top 11 players are coming into OU as freshmen. So with the incoming and what's going out with the senior class and now the transfer portal, there is now 5 open roster spots for Natty Patty to do her thing, and that's to go into the transfer portal and find the best players for the positions that she need, just like she did in years prior, getting Elaine Torres, Sid Sanders, as well as Kelly Maxwell. So I have no doubt that these roster spots are going to be highly sought after for this team as they now continue to move on from this senior class. I saw one person or that they might be targeting as all freshman player of the year from Texas Tech, who that would be a great addition to this OU softball team. So I'm sure Natty Patty, when you get a call from her, how can you not answer? How can you not entertain an offer to come play for the 4-time reigning national champions? That would be pretty hard to turn down if your name's in the portal. So I got no doubt those 5 open roster spots will be filled. Guys, any last thoughts on the cemented legacy of OU softball before we move on?
The best championship is the next one.
That's right. That's right, Mason. Lead us on to the next one, my friend.
All right. We're gonna have a little fun, I guess, here, just real quick. You know, why not?
Goober ass.
Let's have some fun. Patrick, lead us into it.
I'll lead us into it.
Yeah.
Right. Dillon Gabriel transfers from the University of Oklahoma to go to Oregon. The country is sitting there like, how is Dillon Gabriel, a potential Heisman finalist, transferring from Oklahoma? Why is Oklahoma allowing this to happen? And the Oklahoma fans will tell you it's because we have faith in Jackson Arnold. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little friendly debate and let the listeners decide. Did Oklahoma make the right decision by letting Dillon Gabriel go and keeping Jackson Arnold? Or should Oklahoma have done everything they could have to keep Dillon Gabriel? So we're going to debate because debates are fun. And feel free to interact in the comments, of course. Mason and Gann are going to take the side that allowing Dillon Gabriel to leave Oklahoma was the wrong thing to do. Mark and Patrick, we're taking the side that Jackson Arnold is the guy, and Dillon Gabriel leaving the program was totally okay.
Love it.
Who wants to open up the debate?
I'll open up.
Great.
I'll open up. There's an old saying. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. So here's what I want you as Oklahoma fans to think about. I'm just going to throw some numbers at you, okay?
Shit, who's ready?
3,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The year before, 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So what are we looking at? About 6,700 yards. 6,700 yards, 55 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in 2 years. Do you think Jackson Arnold gives you better numbers than that? Because if he doesn't, then you made the wrong choice. Because where the program is at right now, you cannot rely on a project quarterback. You are going into the SEC. You need a proven winner. You need a proven guy who has gone in there, played big time football at big time places in big time stadiums to lead your team. And let's also not forget the fact he was with the team 2 full years before. So he's not just a transfer mercenary guy. He's a guy who's been ingratiated into this program, bought in, believes in Brent Venables, believes in the staff, believes in the guys around him. And you just let him walk out the door. If you think that you have better numbers with Jackson Arnold, then yeah, let him walk out the door. I personally don't think you will. I don't. And that's going to be tough when it comes to nut crunching time. That's my biggest point.
Mason, I couldn't have said it better myself. I feel like we need to hear a rebuttal from the other side with this
I'd love to.
offense. I'd love to hear a rebuttal. Love to hear a rebuttal.
Mark, you want to go for it? You go for it.
Okay, so I'll go for it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So to really get into this, what I had to do was say, like, it's not just Dillon, it's not just Jackson, it's about the idea, right? It's the older quarterback who maybe we've seen his ceiling, maybe we haven't. I'll grant that. And the 5-star underneath him, who we haven't seen nearly enough of, but man, when you're getting hot and heavy and the Jack offense gets going, you might burst at any moment. You know, it just could happen. It easily can happen. And I think it comes down to the idea of seeing that burst and feeling that burst every single drive rather than wondering what Dillon's going to give you. And it's not to take anything away from Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel this season was 7th in yards per attempt, 9th in yards total, 9th in passing touchdowns, 6th in passer rating. And that's all well and good. But in every single one of those stats, he was not as successful as Oklahoma's last Heisman winner, Kyler Murray. Every single one of those, he falls underneath him. What we've seen is that Oklahoma's teams, when they win a championship, look, great defense, great. 2000, grant you that. But we need an offense too. We need an offense too. And top 10 isn't quite good enough. You have to roll the dice on getting to that top 5. You have to take the chance on the next guy coming up. And Jackson Arnold's a guy that you really do want to take a chance on. 6'2", 220, 230. He's looking a little heavy. Muscles look good, though. He's at the camp, and arms looks really good. You'd rather take the shot with him than hold on too long with Dillon Gabriel and risk, with the transfer portal, losing Jackson Arnold elsewhere. I think that it's also a perfect time to do so with Jeff Lebby leaving the program. That's a late add, but I'm going to add it there too. Jackson.
Matt, do you want to go or do you want me to?
Yeah, I have to rebuttal. I mean,
Okay,
yeah, please. Please hit me.
All the puns under 2 minutes, because that's as long as the Jack offense can last for that we've seen. But what I'll tell you is Dillon Gabriel, really to Mason's point, the guy has played over 50 career football games, and that's with obviously the 1 year that he was injured at UCF before transferring to Oklahoma. But over 14,000 yards, 125 touchdowns to only 26 interceptions. Did we see a potential ceiling with Dillon Gabriel sitting in the pocket, being a little bit of a shorter statued quarterback? Perhaps, but at least we know what we're getting out of DG, making quick decisions and what he can do in the Oklahoma offense. That's only gotten better skill position wise, bringing in some transfer running backs as well as Deion Burks from Purdue. So I could only imagine what Dillon Gabriel would be able to do with these weapons, with the experience and the veteran-esque that he has, playing over 50 ball games. That is huge. Not a lot of players can say they've played that many games, especially at a high level at the quarterback position when you're heading into the best conference in all of the football nation, playing SEC opponents week in and week out. And the fact that these defenses are going to be a lot better, got to be able to make quicker decisions. That's what I'm really worried about with Jackson Arnold. If we were playing in the Big 12 again, I think Jackson Arnold would do just fine, probably even better numbers than Dillon Gabriel. I'm more worried about those teams we're going to be playing week in and week out in the SEC. That's really my main concern and why I would rather keep Dillon, especially for the first year.
All right, Pat, bring it home,
Good
baby.
points.
Bring it home, baby.
I think the notion of wanting to keep Dillon Gabriel at Oklahoma is very nearsighted. We need to think about the next 2 to 3 years, and that's developing Jackson Arnold. Our first year in the SEC with Jackson Arnold, if he plays as good as he can, or even just like reaches most of his potential as a first-year starter for Oklahoma, that's a similar season to what Dillon Gabriel most likely would have gotten us. And to me, that's a wash. Second season as Jackson Arnold as a starter, we know that's going to be better than Dillon Gabriel. And allowing Jackson to get this season under his belt, knowing it might not be as good as what Dillon Gabriel could have gotten us, but most likely will, and most likely will be very close. that's okay with me, because in 2 years from now, Jackson will have the ability to be that ceiling raiser that Dillon Gabriel would not. It just doesn't. Love Dillon Gabriel. Just didn't have. Okay. So that's my thing. Allow him to be the 3-year starter with his current roster in 3 years from now. That's a natty.
Perfect. Let us know down below in the comments your thoughts on Dillon Gabriel versus Jackson Arnold, the debate. Which one of us won? Which one of our teams won? You can let us know down below in the comments. We read every single one of your comments.
Wait,
All
can
right.
I get y'all's
Yeah.
actual opinion? Like, did we make the right choice or not? Because we kind of assigned.
Leaving
right
up to
there,
the
right?
viewers, baby.
Let's leave it up to the viewers.
Yeah, leave it up to the
'cause
viewers,
leave it to
baby.
the viewers.
Right.
That's,
See
all,
what
that's
they
the whole
think.
That
point
was
of
a
the
stupid
debate.
idea. Stupid idea.
No. All right. Some schedule
We'll find
release
out.
news. We have times for every single football game on the schedule right now. We have 2 times for some flex scheduling as well. Guys, I'm just going to rattle this off real quick. Okay. Start off at Temple, August 30th. That's a 6 p.m. Central Time kick. Houston, 6:45 p.m. Central Time kick. Tulane, 2:30 p.m. Central Time kick. Tennessee, it's either 2:30 p.m. Central Time kick or a 5 p.m., 5 to 7 p.m. kick.
I think it's either a 2:30 to 3:30 or 5 to 7. They haven't decided. That's how I read it. But
Yeah, I think that's a weird time domain. Does that mean it's at 5 or does it mean it's at 7? Or just say 6? It's weird.
Anywhere in between, I would
Yeah.
think.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's starting times versus
Yeah.
the actual game
Those
time.
are always pretty they move around.
Yeah.
Between those
Good
evening
point,
games.
Mark. Good point.
Thanks, Matt. You're great.
Auburn game, 2:30 to 3:30 Central Time kick. So that's the window for that. Texas is going to be 2:30 p.m. October 12th in Dallas. Going to be hot as hell. October 19th, it is South Carolina. That's an 11 a.m. kick to a noon kick. That's your window right there in Norman. So be weary of that. Ole Miss in Oxford, October 26th, 11 to noon again. That's another earlier kick. You have Maine in Norman, November 2nd. That's a 1:30 p.m. kick. Missouri in Columbia, November 9th, 2:30 to 3:30 or 5 to 7. So it kind of depends. Again, Alabama, same thing, 2:30 to 3:30 or 5 to 7. Same thing for LSU, 2:30 to 3:30 or 5 to 7. This is very NFL-esque, I feel like, with all these flex kick options, really trying to figure it out. And usually what would happen, for those who don't know, and maybe you do know, the week before the game is when the Big 12 would usually announce the window that OU would play. So when you were 2 weeks out is when you would know when your next window of games are. And this feels different. We have a much firmer grasp of when games will be, and it's going to help people, I think, plan their weekends better for tailgating and such, because even on some of those games, like that Alabama game, yeah, you have 2:30 to 3:30 or 5 to 7, but at least you know it's going to be an afternoon kick and it's not going to be 11 a.m. So that's something you can plan on.
That's what I was going to point out too, is the 2 noon kicks are really, they're both noon depending on just where you live, right? It's South Carolina and it's Ole Miss, and that's it. All of these other ones are either set in stone or they're flexes between the afternoon or the evening. That's nice for us, the fan, no matter what it is. And it's nice to see that Oklahoma is finally getting those slots in the afternoon or the evening that we've sat aside and watched the SEC get on CBS for how many years now? You know, just watching Alabama play Tennessee, Alabama play Georgia, Alabama play South Carolina, Alabama play Vanderbilt, anyone. Now we're in those spots. That's very cool. I think that it's great to see.
Welcome to the SEC, baby, where you get the better time slots because you're playing the better games of each and every weekend. Who wants to watch Ohio State and Rutgers play at 2:30 in the afternoon. I surely don't. I surely don't. I'm a little bit we've talked about this before. OU Texas being at 2:30, I think it's highway robbery. I think that game is a tradition game to be at 11 o'clock. You get to the you get to the fair early, you get your beer, your Fletcher's corn dog, and you're ready to roll by game time. I think it's got to go back to 11 o'clock. It didn't work in 2017. Let's cut it. We're in the SEC. I get it, but that's the prime game for that weekend, 11 o'clock. It just makes sense. I hope they will change that in the future. A little bit weird to have back-to-back 11 to 12 o'clock games. South Carolina, Ole Miss. That was very interesting to me. I thought maybe the main would be the 11 o'clock game that they would put, but it's at 1:30. Seems like a very odd time for those three straight games.
The main thing has ESPN Plus written all over it.
Probably.
It's already been announced.
ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
That makes sense. But why not 11? Get the game over with. It's FCS, whatever. And it makes a lot of sense for the last 3 games of the year to be flex because it's really going to be dependent on how OU's doing as well as those teams that we're going to be playing. Because those could be either college game day nights or they could be primetime games that matter when we're talking about the playoff race or the SEC tournament itself. So those are going to have big implications on the season. So I could easily see those games, again, depending on how both of those teams, Missouri, Bama, LSU, are playing, that they could easily be all 3 night games on how they're playing. So very interesting to see. But this is welcome to the SEC. This is what we wanted. We've had way too many 11 a.m. games the last 10 plus or so years. It's exciting to see some actual good times that you'll be kicking off at.
I think all of us have discussed Ole Miss being a very potential loss for Oklahoma, a 50-50 game. I think the game taking place at 11 or at noon helps us tremendously and gives us better odds to win that game. Looking at this, I feel so much better about our season. I think I've been saying, like, pessimistically, I said 8-4. This feels more like 9-3 now, just looking at these times, knowing that, yeah, Texas is a toss-up. Ole Miss, I feel better about now. Tennessee, I feel better being a night game, potentially, most likely, in Norman. This feels great to me. Missouri's not even a football team. I think it's really going to come down to Bama at the end of the year, guys. Like, I could now see a 10-2 season just looking at this again. Again, Missouri not being a football team.
From you went
I
from
love
8-4 to
hey, I love where his head's at. But
Yeah.
Pat kind of brought something up that made me remember a point I wanted to make. I want to avoid as many SEC road night games as I possibly can.
100%.
And right now I see 1, 2, 3, 4 possibilities
all
for
big
SEC.
games too.
For
All big games.
and exactly.
Wait, which
You're right.
ones?
So you have Tennessee, you have
That's at home.
Missouri. Sorry, I'm talking. Yeah, I said road. Yeah. So Missouri and LSU are the two
Yeah.
options. So even if you escape and you get 1 out of 2 of those, that's a road night game. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Right
with
now, it looks like we might just have 1 road night game. That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, which would
That's 10.
Which I agree, Pat, would greatly change things in my mind. I'm telling you right now, not playing at the Grove at night is clutch. That's so clutch. Now, does that mean it's going to be an easy game? No, that doesn't mean it's going to be an easy game. It just means it's going to be
kind of the one, though.
easier. Yeah, right.
That's kind of the one. That and LSU are kind of the
Yeah.
ones where it's like, all right, LSU is a later game. It's in the afternoon and the evening, but that one, Ole Miss being early, that's good for us.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, there's zero chance that LSU game is not at night. It's going to be at night. It's going to be.
Last game of the year.
So is Tennessee.
It's going to be. Even if OU is not in even if both of those teams are not in the like race, quote unquote, to make the SEC title game, that's going to be a night
It's a
game.
premier football team.
Yeah,
between
you're going to
two
get, you're
locales.
telling me I
Yeah.
could put OU LSU at night in the first like true road test for OU in the SEC in their first year? That's going to do numbers.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm going to put that at night. I guarantee you they will. Mark, you look to not agree.
Oh, I would think the first true road test is more like at least Ole Miss,
Well,
but
yeah,
I won't push back too hard. I
I,
just that piece took me off guard when I'm looking at the schedule.
I meant like an evening like road test, like I know how
Like
I'm
one of those
explaining this.
prime time games where
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
at the place and it's nasty and you
Yeah.
know the swamp will be nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel you. I feel you.
Stuff like that. But no, yeah, I completely agree. The Ole Miss road test is gonna be tough. And I'm not as down on Mizzou as Patrick is, but that game's gonna be difficult as well. I expect that one to stay an afternoon game, an afternoon kick. That's what I would expect for that.
And the
But
world we're in, if where that's a night kick, is an interesting one to think about.
yeah,
Come on, you don't remember the Chase Daniels back in the day when the Big 12? I mean, come on.
How
Those
could
are
you
some great
forget
games.
Chase
How
Daniels
could you
back in the
forget?
day?
How could you
Dude.
forget about
Chase
that?
Daniel, by the way, had a fire tweet the other day about
Taco
something.
Bell?
Yes.
Yeah, it
Dude.
was like gain
Dude.
15 pounds, order everything on the Taco Bell menu and eat it. He
Yeah.
was great.
Dude,
How could you forget?
amazing.
Matt's favorite athlete.
Yeah, it is. It is. And Kyrie
Behind
is
Aaron
Ryan's.
Rodgers. Behind
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Also, while we're on it, Aaron Rodgers not showing up to mandatory minicamp. Matt, your thoughts on that?
I haven't seen the reasons. I don't know if it's contract or injury. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
So it's an unexcused absence. And
Yeah.
did y'all see that there's apparently an RFK Jr. rally? Like one of the days that
No.
he's missing
Really?
in Glendale, California.
Oh,
Yeah.
This
boy.
all makes sense.
Right.
That does make a
like
little
you
sense.
just hear that and it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Hey, it's not just Aaron. Hassan Reddick as well is missing, which like that's your premier signing if you're the Jets. And like
For the
he's not
same reason.
Yeah, right.
How
It's just-
upsetting.
it's as a Dolphins fan, I love it. It's hysterical. All right, that's gonna do it for the schedule talk. Real quick, Mark, you want to jump into the recruiting news?
Yeah,
that we
Mark,
got?
let's hear
Matt
it.
Gann.
This is a Matt Gann. Matt Gann, go.
Yeah, let's get
Matt
Matt
Gann,
Gann
go.
going.
Yeah, this was a tweet that I saw from a potential recruit, 2025 four-star tight end Deshaun Brams. He is making his official decision on June 29th, so here in just a few weeks. He is the number 10 tight end in the class, 184th player in the nation based on On3 rankings. He is 6'4", 4.5, 225 from Derby, Kansas. I'm just thinking to myself, man, if we land a guy like this playing alongside Devon Mitchell in that tight end room, you can only imagine what two tight end sets we can have with these two guys. He is leaning more towards Oregon. It looks like that is the major consensus at this point, but he did have some really good things to say about OU. I don't know if you took a recent visit, Mark. I don't know if you can talk a little bit more about that. But
I think an official visit, yeah.
Yeah, said some really good things. He said, when I commit on June 29th, it's not going to be an easy decision. Oklahoma moved up quite a bit, and it's tied up there for them or for me with them. Talking about OU, Oregon, and Tennessee. So that's the type of guy you would want in the room coming in as another premier tight end skill set player. He's already got the size, speed, and athleticism. That's a plug and play kind of guy that you want. We'll see.
Yeah, real
Leaning
fast.
towards Oregon.
Real fast, just once Nate Roberts, who is a consensus like top 10 tight end, right? Once Nate Roberts commits to Ohio State and you see a guy like Lincoln Cure leave you off of his list, and he's almost definitely going to commit to Kansas State, you kind of need to go all in on someone like, is it Deshaun or is it Deshaun? I don't really have an answer. I don't know. I'm going to go Deshaun.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
I wouldn't take my word for it.
Well, we don't know. No one knows, right? Yeah, you kind of need to go all in because that's your last best hope at a top 10 tight end prospect to pair with Devon Mitchell. That said, this is supposed to be Devon Mitchell's class. He's supposed to be a 5-star recruit in this class. So
Yeah.
you can take a lot of solace wherever we land here in knowing that we kind of secured that a little bit early, even if Devon Mitchell's not the starter this season. We've got our 2025 tight end here. He just showed up a year early. That's a positive for everyone.
Great
Beautiful
point.
point.
Great point.
Matt said
Beautiful.
2 tight end sets, and my heart kind of went aflutter. I would love to see a 2 tight end set with
Oh
2
my
capable
God.
tight ends on the field. Oh my God. That's
Having 2 tight
very-
ends.
having 2 tight ends.
The
would be
Atlanta
sick.
Having one
Falcons.
tight end.
Hey, Atlanta Falcons, they run it all the time. Look how successful they are.
Look at all the tight ends.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them for sure.
There's a lot. All right, let's wrap up the show with our PGP MVP of the week. Pat, we'll start with you, man. Who's your MVP? Oh, before we get started, Pat, if you don't follow Pat on Twitter, X, whatever it is, now is the time to do so because we're about to be deep into Euros for soccer, and Pat's Euro tweeting like hating on Germany is art. It's just art. So if you don't follow Patrick, follow him at Big Bird 5. Is that what it is?
That's it.
Big Bird BYRD 5. Okay, go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
Bird with a Y. I got Kelly Maxwell. Wasn't able to give her props or didn't give her props in the beginning. Kelly Maxwell is a stone cold killer. She's the ideal athlete in my mind with her mindset. I wish every German soccer player had the same mentality and stopped smiling. She doesn't smile until the game's over.
No, she doesn't. Huh. Dude, she's
Even
she
then,
is
she's just a little grin.
dude, it was crazy. There was one point there was like 2 on, and she like struck out 3 in a row or so, or 2 in a row to get out of the jam, and OU was up by like 2, and she just struck him out. And you see Kinsey Hansen like freaking out behind the plate, and all Kelly does is just like walk off.
Yeah.
Just serial killer stuff. I love it. She's cold blooded. Matt, who's your MVP?
I'm actually on LVP. I haven't had an LVP in a while, but this news absolutely broke my heart, and it should break America's heart as well. I'm giving my LVP to Nathan's July 4th hot dog eating competition, who has officially right now has banned a double-digit champion in Joey Chestnut over some type of article debates. If anyone wants to give any insight. But this is America. 4th of July, this is what people are waking up to, is who can eat however many hot dogs in a certain time frame, and you are taking this away from us. America has gone through too much. This has been the straw that's going to break the camel's back, in my opinion. Free Joey Chestnut. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing, America? Let the man eat some hot dogs.
I think he did this to himself, though, right? Like he signed a contract to know.
I don't know what there's some kind of debate that he like signed a contract with like an Impossible Foods, like a vegan company, but I don't know.
So he can only eat vegan now?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Some debate between
No, but the company, because he's now affiliated with Impossible Meat, has decided you are banned from this event. Hopefully they'll figure it out. That's kind of the deal there.
Jeez.
It's not even the same. LVP, come on. Free him.
LVP. All right. Mark, who's your MVP, man?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Brent Venables football camp. I think that the recruiting efforts for the next generation are going off super smoothly. You saw class of 2027 potential 5-star recruit Zane Rowe at camp working out with everyone. You saw Kevin Sperry throwing with Jackson Arnold. You saw a ton of offers go out. You were talking class of 2027 guys. I think that 128 kid got an offer, which is nuts to me.
Yeah,
I just
crazy.
think that I get it. If you got to be in the competition, you got to be in the competition, but that seems like a long time from now, doesn't it?
4 years. Goodness.
But that's doing the work.
Game.
He's about to be a
doing the
freshman. It's just
about
crazy.
to be a freshman. Hasn't played a snap of ball yet. It's nuts to me. But these guys are in it. These guys are in it. So my MVP, the Brent Venables football camp. Keep getting them, guys.
Yeah.
I have this thing that pops into my head every now and then, and I need to say it whenever it pops in my head. Man, dude, the paycheck obviously makes it worth it, but being a college football coach has got to be exhausting. Oh my God. Like, dude, you work so hard to sign a class, and then the next day you don't even get to celebrate. It's like, okay, now we're ready for the next one. Or we're looking at the transfer portal, or we have guys who are leaving because we signed this guy. How do I get him to stay? Oh, and by the way, we got to prepare for Texas this week. It's like, it's just insane. I don't envy those guys at all. It's so brutal. I think it makes it all the more impressive Nick Saban lasted as long as he did, just doing what he did. That's crazy. Okay, my MVP of the week, the Boston Celtics. 2 games away from winning Banner 18. I'm fired up. They look great. They look really good. Luka
Job's not done.
looks fat. Kyrie is a shell of himself. He's super upset.
You don't say that on Ryan Tyson's podcast.
You're
Actually.
right. I don't.
We don't
You're
do
right.
that here.
But I'm fired up, man. They're really close. I'm excited. I feel good. I feel confident, especially the fact that the Celtics shot as poor as they did in game 2 and they still won comfortably. That's a fun feeling. That's a fun feeling. And
Are you
I
worried
love
about Tingus Pingus?
I mean, I'm worried that he's got some injury that I've never heard of or anyone seems to have ever heard of.
And he's a
And
difference
so
maker in
funny.
the series. If he's out, I mean, that's huge. That's huge.
I don't really think so. The Celtics played 38 days without him and didn't have a problem. I don't think they got a problem with these bums. It's funny to me that like everybody was like before the series started, like, oh, this is going to be the Celtics' toughest test. This is going to be the Celtics' toughest test. And they go out there and they win the first 2 games. And now everyone's like, oh, well, Boston should win these games. They're a super team. It's just the goalposts move. And it's not, no one's slick. I know what you're doing. This is the era of hot takes that we're in. It's fine. It's shocking, right? Shocking that the number 1 overall seed in the NBA playoffs is like storm rolling through the playoffs and everyone's shocked about it. Or they're like, oh, they haven't been tested. Yeah, they have. They're just
You
better
hear
than
that?
everyone else.
Journalist Mason Prince is on to your
I'm on to your
slick
games.
act.
Yeah,
I'm on to your
He knows
games.
what you're up
Yeah.
to.
I'm on your games.
You can't pull a shade over his eyes.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. 2 wins away. 2 wins away.
Job's not done. Job's
Job's not
done.
finished. Job finished?
Mm.
I don't
Of
think
course,
so.
Matt says that.
Yeah.
I never
Mavs
finished.
Matt.
Mavs Matt. He is. And that's going to do it. Episode number 126 is in the books. Be sure to like, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Gentlemen, that's going to do it. We will see y'all next week. Pat, take us out, brother.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1, go!